Welcome to the Win Make Give podcast. Chad Himes here, Bob Stewart over there. Bob, I was going to start this episode with doing a little bit of space pause to have you figure out that I'm saying hello in Morse code. I just thought that would get a little irritating.
Whoa. I would have not. I don't know that I would have even known what was going on, honestly.
That's true of most episodes that we record, though, Bob Stewart.
I mean, I would have. It's funny when you started doing that, like I don't know if it was the internet connection. It was a little bit glitchy. And so then I'm like, what is going on here? And I knew what was coming. So had I not known what was coming, you might have broke the matrix.
Well, I know two letters in Morse code without looking them up. I know the S and I know the O, so I know how to send out SOS if I'm ever in trouble. Otherwise, I don't know any of the other Morse code letters, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it. Let's just get past the welcome to the podcast, Bob Stewart. What's going on your side of the country?
It's full swing of summer, Chad. I have kids out of school. We just started.
This might not drop till December the way Dave does this.
That's all right. Kids are they went to camp this week, so
nice.
Some breathing room during the day as they spend energy. But yeah, things are good. It's summertime here. We've got nice, beautiful weather in Seattle. It's that little 3-month window that everybody tries to get outside and take advantage.
Yeah, folks, now that I don't live there, I will share the secret. There is no place in the country better to live than probably Oregon and Washington State during kind of July, August, September, right? Yeah. Maybe it's like late June into mid-September, somewhere in there. There is nowhere in the country better to live than that Pacific Northwest during those 3 months. Now, the other 9 months, go away, right? Get out, go somewhere else. Yet, folks, I'm completely thrown off today. You might be able to tell that as we're doing this, I'm everywhere. Because you don't see us. We know we've talked about that. Yet when the screen came up and Bob Stewart was there in front of me, he's in white. Bob, I don't know that I've honestly ever seen you out of black.
Yeah, I mean, that's my color. I wear a uniform every day, essentially, right? Like, it's a Lululemon hoodie, but I've got probably 15 of it. It's the same shirt. I just wear it every day, right? The funny thing is I did pop up in white. It's the same hoodie, though. It's just the white version of that hoodie. So I try to keep
you got the full spectrum in the closet? Like you got every color up there?
Green and blue and gray and light
so
blue.
A different team, you're cheering for a different team, you can put on their color that day, whatever needs to happen?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. All right, well, just threw me right off.
If I find something I like, I just buy it in every single color.
Well, hey, it takes a lot less thinking during the day, folks. We've talked about making your life easier. Let's make your lives and your businesses and your relationships better by attacking today's topic. Bob, we're going to talk about questions.
I feel like I could have done a better transition than you did there. I should have stepped in and said, you know what, Chad, it brings up something interesting. I should be asking myself, why have I decided to, or something like that. But I missed
We'll talk about that. You just gave one of the words we don't want to use as often as possible when we talk about questions. We will get to that shortly. Yet, Bob, let's just talk about the power of questions, because the right questions will lead you to better decisions and greater success. So, Bob, can you tell me, I'm putting you on the spot, you should know these, the 6 questioning words. There's the 5 W's and the 1 H.
Who, what, when, where, why, and how.
There you go, Bob. Congratulations.
I figured me back to 3rd grade or 2nd grade or something. I don't know.
I figured with the boys, maybe you had a little insight to be able to get one of those. One of them might have been working through it. Questions make all the difference in the world. And how many of us make statements instead of questions? How many of us say something and state facts instead of asking questions? And that's what we want to talk about here today. Challenging your thinking and asking you, how often do you stop to ask the right question? Now, that might be of somebody, like I'm here with Bob. That might be of you asking yourself the right question to get where you're going. And today we're going to talk about decision making through questions.
I'm sitting here. I don't know if you can see me. I'm like looking around. Somewhere I've got this book, The 7 Powers of Questions. I just can't find it. Anyway, you've read that book, right? Now you're looking around.
Now I'm looking on my shelf for you.
Chad and I were joking before we just started that like we've got a lot of books around. Chad gets sent all the podcast books, and then whenever one of our partners writes a book, I buy it. So I'm mostly stacked up with our partners' books here. The ones Ben Kinney's made us read over the years have started to fade their way into the background of my office here, Chad.
I get it. I completely understand that, and I'm sure it's here somewhere yet. I know I've read that one as well. Questions matter, folks, because they're going to help you discover truths. They're going to help you break down issues, and they're going to help you with what I think is one of the most powerful things, which is clarification, clarity on any topic. And if you ask questions, that's how you'll get there. Bob, when was the last time you sat down with someone like Ben Kinney and didn't get asked a question? Can you even think that there was a conversation other than maybe him just passing you in the hall and just telling you something that it didn't include challenging your thinking on something, getting your input on something through a question, making sure you were understanding and on the same page?
It's almost exclusively the way that he operates.
Yes. He never wants to give you an answer because then you can always blame him for it. So he's always coming back with a question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very common kind of approach from him, especially when it's, most of the time that I'm going to Ben, it's a problem that like nobody else in the organization could solve, or, it's something pretty complex, and he often doesn't have the answer.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, we just kind of expect, like, you go to the boss or whatever, right? And you're like, they gotta have the answer. I think as kids, I used to do this to my parents, like, they gotta have the answer. And a lot of times when you don't have the answer, people feel compelled to give an answer. Yes. And I think one of the things that Ben has become a master at is he never feels compelled to have the answer. I suffer from this, Chad. In fact, I probably spent the first 10 years of my career feeling like I needed to have all the answers. And it was a very freeing moment and I probably learned this from Ben, when I realized I don't have to have the answers. Sometimes I just have to be able to help that person ask the right questions. And so Ben is a master, I think, at when you bring him your problem, right? He's going to ask you some questions to help you kind of turn around and now look back at that problem with that, that new perspective.
It's so powerful. I remember I had a mentor before I ended up in the world working with Ben. I had a mentor in my world. She would ask questions, yet her goal of it was to back you into a corner, right? She would ask you questions that you ended up coming with. You had to do something. She wanted you to do something, and she would ask you questions until it was the only answer that you were left with. Well, yeah, I got to pick up the phone and go call 50 people, or I've got to go do this, or I've got to go do that, whatever it is. She made you still feel like you got yourself to it, even though she knew the answer the whole time. Questions will change how your kids look at the world if you stop telling them things and start asking them things.
Yeah, like I've been using this one particular kind of set of questions, and it's a little like, it's like a Ben Kinney little 1-2 like jab left hook type of thing, right? We've got this thing that people in our world should do. They all know they should do it. Let's pin it on a sales call, because a lot of people that listen would, whatever you sell, right? But it's a call I know I need to make into my business, Chad, and they're not making it. They know they need to make it. They show up and they sit with me and they shake their head. They go, yeah, I know I need to make that. Like I will ask, what would prevent you from making that call? That's actually how I'll start. What would prevent you from making that call? And busy, this, that, and ultimately we'll dig through that, and we'll get to this place where they'll agree, Like there's really nothing preventing them from making that call except, maybe it's blocking out the time on their calendar, Chad, right?
Yep.
They can get down to like, yeah, I've got, it's going to take me an hour. And so, but the follow-up question then, so they'll agree. Yes, there's nothing preventing me. And then I'll say, okay, so you agree that you're going to make these calls, and they say yes, and I'll say by when, which is a question, right?
Yep.
It's putting a time frame on the commitment that they're making. That simple, because what I used to do is they'd say, yeah, I know. I say, okay, you're going to do it, and they'd say, yep, I'm going to do it, and then off we'd go, and we'd come back next month, and they wouldn't necessarily have done it. And like that simple change of saying, what's preventing you, right? Getting their agreement and buy-in that there's nothing preventing them, Chad. But then asking them that simple, tiny little follow-up question, by when, like has dramatically changed them doing it, which is crazy.
Well, sure, because it's a dream, not a goal when there's no timeline put on it. And your last question there is, of course, putting that timeline on it. And it's such a powerful goal, folks, because otherwise people have said they'll do it, yet without a due date. I didn't tell you I would do it this month. Yeah, I'll get to it. And it becomes unrealistic. Bob, what you're doing by doing that is you're changing the culture of the organization that you're a part of. And I don't know how many people we talk to when we bring a guest on that they always bring it back to the culture of this or culture of that, and everybody's got a culture. If you don't build a culture of curiosity, it doesn't matter almost whatever culture you're building in your organization, because it'll become dictatorship, right? So everybody says, well, I want to include everybody. I want to make everybody feel like they're part of the family, yet I tell them what to do. As soon as you change that mindset and start asking questions of people, you're going to unlock some amazing potential. You're going to unlock some new ideas. You're going to transform the culture of your office just by asking questions, Bob.
Here, you said something in there, and I want to yes and you. Like, yes. You by asking powerful questions of people and asking them of yourself.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like asking we kind of talk often about this idea of like I'm raising children, it's teaching me so much about myself. And whenever I get when I used to get frustrated about my kids, I like the question I would ask is like, why won't they stop doing this shit? And in a minute, I think we're going to get to like kind of uncovering the who, what, why, where, and why is not necessarily the most powerful question to ask. It's actually one of the least powerful questions, right? It's kind of where you start, and it's probably not even where you should start. More recently, and maybe shout out to Glenda for this, my therapist, but more recently I asked the question like, what is it about the thing they did that is frustrating to me? Or what is it about the way I see the world that made that? Like I'm starting to ask questions about myself instead of, questioning why that person did the thing that made me frustrated. I just turning any questions at yourself can be an incredibly powerful way to, make breakthroughs in your life, I think. Much less frustrated with my kids today when I can like I can frame the question to my own brain in a way that is disarming.
If you're honest with yourself, right?
For sure.
If you're honest with yourself, because how many times do we ask ourselves a question like, do I really need this bowl of ice cream? And then we say, yes, I do. When we know we don't, right? We have to be honest with ourselves if we're going to ask ourselves the questions. Otherwise, we've wasted the time asking the question. That's like me asking you a question, Bob, and then turning my back and walking away. Like, Bob, what are your thoughts on this? And then just giving up on the conversation. If I'm not going to be honest with myself, I might as well have never asked myself the question.
I mean, look, here's a
powerful thought.
I don't know. You just said something that's kind of sparked. This was a progression for me, especially as I think about my kids, because I went from like, why are they frustrating me to really asking questions where I had an answer I wanted them to give. And if they didn't give the answer that I wanted, now I'm irritated with that, right? I'm like, oh, that's not, so you do have to be careful when you're asking people questions that you're not setting them up for like the answer you want them to give. And then, chopping them off at the knees when you don't hear that answer.
That's a great point. Bob, in any sales industry, and this should go outside of sales, yet in sales industry, this is very common where they say you got to go at least three levels deep. Right? Audience, do this for me right now. It doesn't matter that this is recorded. It'll still play, right? And Bob, you play along for me. I want you to imagine a dog in your head.
Okay.
Right? What are the odds? Now I'm going to say, Bob, do you have a dog?
No.
Well, you do, because you just put one in your head.
Oh,
Right?
it's in my head. Yes, I have a dog, Chad. Got it.
Okay.
I have a dog in my head.
Now, I have a dog. I don't any longer, but I have one in my head. I assume your dog is the same kind of dog as my dog is because I don't ask any questions about it. And then I make poor assumptions. Right? So now I got to ask questions. Bob, is your dog a big dog, a little dog?
It's a big dog.
Okay, see, mine's a medium dog. And that's only because she gets into the treats a little too much that she's a medium dog, right? You've got a big dog, right? Does your dog? So I assume, oh, well, Bob's got one of those big dogs. They're going to bark at everything. They leave hair everywhere. For all I know, you had a Labradoodle, though, and they don't leave the hair for all I, right? Folks, you've got to go at least 3 levels deep before you're going to get anywhere. And that's what questioning does with you. Tell me more about that. Might not use any of the question words, yet it is one of the most powerful questions you will ever get as a leader. When someone comes to you and says something and you can stop and say, tell me more about that, because then they're going to dive into it. And what about that? And when did that happen? Now you're going to be leading people by going 3 deep at least into any conversation you have.
Okay? Yeah. I mean, I even think about like listening, over the years, listening to Ben close, even when he closes, it's a question. Like, would this solution that we've been talking about for your business be something that you think that could, lead to the growth you're looking for in the next 3 years? Like, even the close is a question.
Should be. Right? And that's a sign of a good salesperson. Let me sum the whole episode up with this, and then we'll get into what I refer to as the question ladder and achieve your apex. Summing it up like about questions, right? If you're, and I don't even remember what it was I was going to say anymore. You said Ben was using it as a close. Oh, you want the best thing to happen. You can't convince anyone of anything ever, right? I can't make you change your mind about anything, Bob. All I can do is ask you questions. Right. And this is where, and I'm not going to get into it, yet this is where, especially around election time, the social medias explode because no one's asking questions. All they're doing is telling, and then they yell at someone who's got the exact opposite opinion. And I don't know, do they think they're changing someone's opinion? No. If your wife wants you to start vacuuming the house, Bob, she can tell you vacuum it. You'll either begrudgingly do it or you won't do it. If she asks you the right questions, like, Bob, do you want to sleep in our bed tonight? Right? You might be like, now I'm going to choose to go do that. Okay. Ben is doing that same thing when he is closing people. It's asking questions helps people self-discover change they want to make because you can't convince and talk anyone into anything otherwise. Okay. Okay, Bob, let's talk questions. You gave them to me at the beginning. Give me the 6 questioning words again.
I'm just who, what, when, where, why, how.
And how. Right, there you go. Now, and I have a whole section of this in Achieve Your Apex when I wrote it, Bob, that I just wanted to make sure we covered while we were talking questions. There's an order to those questions, folks. I mentioned it at the beginning of the episode. Bob hinted at it as we were having some conversation in here. The weakest questioning word, it is a failing question when you ask why questions. Okay? Why questions will lead to vague answers. And more importantly, why questions will lead to defensive situations.
Yeah.
So when I said to Bob, why are you wearing that? Which is not what I said. Had I said that, now he's going to get defensive about, well, because I didn't have to wear black today because it was hot and I wanted to wear a lighter color. Their defensive answers are going to come with a why question. They are failing questions, Bob, yet they are probably 80% of the questions most people ask.
Well, I mean, again, I'm raising a 7 and a 9-year-old. I'm sure I'm asking this question way too often. Why
And
would
what's
you
their
hit your
number one
brother?
question? What's their
Why did
number
you?
one question? Why? Right? Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to go to bed? Why do we do that? Why do we do this? And while your kids are great kids, they're failing at life. Like if you left them on their own, they're in a lot of trouble,
Yeah,
right? That's the position they're in. And that's the people that ask why questions are people that are still in a failing area as they learn to grow. Folks, stop asking why questions. As soon as you start to hear one come out of your mouth, change it,
yeah.
right?
Like why did you hit your brother? Should probably be, what
What
emotion?
motivated you to
Yeah,
hit your brother?
what emotions did your brother evoke in you that made you so angry that that you had to go get him?
Yes. Whatever it is, not the why. The why is going to turn into a defensive fight, defensive situation. Now, Bob's using his kids as a great example. This is the same in business, right? Why did you guys make the decision to launch that product? Why did you do New Coke, right? Why did you do this with the website? Why did you do that? When you're asking why questions, Bob, you're getting defensive answers from people who have to justify a decision they made or didn't make, right? So we've got failing. Next up, the ladder, as I refer to it, is we have survival question, and the survival question is the how question, Bob. This is a little better than the why question, yet this is the person treading water. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do the other thing? These are people who are attempting to keep afloat, yet there's no true progress or growth coming from the questions they're asking. How do we? How do I do that? It becomes a question of just surviving. Better questions will lead us to better answers. So, folks, get out of the why, get out of the how, start listening to yourself. I'll bet 80% of the questions you're asking are how and why questions.
Yeah. All right. I
Okay.
mean, okay, so move us up. What does it look
Okay.
like then? Like what starts to become a more powerful version of
Now we hit the tipping point of the ladder, right? If you climb a ladder, the first two rungs on this ladder, the ladder's not going to fall yet. You start to get to that third ladder, you better have balance or the ladder's starting to tip over for sure. So we're getting to the good side here. We're getting into that 20%. We're getting into succeeding questions, because we succeed when we ask these and they're what, where, and when. And they can go in any order because they all lead to the same path, right? They move us forward in a specific way. What's the next step on this journey? Where do I need to be to get to? When will I have that done by? It's all action steps that are moving us forward, learning and proceeding upon our growth. Okay,
Okay.
so if you could take a why or a how question and make it a what, where, or a when question, you've just hit that tipping point and you just took your failing or your survival question and you turned it into a succeeding question, which is going to lead you where you're wanting to go.
Yeah. What can we do next time your brother gets you irritated instead of hitting him?
Correct. Right? When is it okay to actually hit somebody, right? To start that conversation, right? Where could you have gone to get away from your brother if he was doing that caused this stress and this strife, right? These are better questions than why'd you hit him, right? Now it's an accusation and I have to defend myself, right? Or I don't even know how would work in, so let's not worry about it. But let's get to the top of the ladder, Bob, because if we can get up here, we have reached the top, right? We are all the way there. Now, you probably have the questioning words written in front of you because you've given them to me, yet there's one we haven't hit on. Which one is it?
Who?
There you go. Okay. Who is the ultimate growth question? Who can I learn from? Who could I be more like? Who should I be reading? Who should I be talking to? Who should I be emulating as I move? Who could do this for me? That's leverage. That's leading me to the ultimate thriving, right? We've gone past succeeding. We've gone all the way into thriving by asking who questions when possible. Sometimes who doesn't work into the question, which is what, where, and when come to. So, Bob, that's a quick journey up the question ladder, right? Anybody have any questions about it? Don't hesitate to contact me. Check out the Achieve Your Apex podcast, part of the Win, Make, Give network, or pick up the book. It's all in there. And I love helping people get from why and how all the way to what, where, when, and ultimately who, whenever possible.
Yeah. I mean, as a side note, definitely grab Chad's book. The 7 Powers of Questions is another really, really stellar book on this topic. One that I've read a few times. I think here's what I would tell. Questions are great, right? And I think the number one reason why questions are great, as I go back to the 7 Powers of Questions, is they demand answers. Like when you ask the right question, you are going to get an answer, and then subsequent questions, can ultimately lead you to, kind of the outcome that you're after. But it all starts with asking them, because we're programmed, every single one of us, we're programmed to answer questions, and the better we ask them, the better answers we get.
You're absolutely right, Bob. And the only last lesson to take with a question is, when possible, ask open-ended questions. Don't ask the yes/no questions, right? Ask the questions that demand an answer. Bob said it really well. Great questions get great answers. Ask the right ones. So let me ask you this. Who should hear this episode? And when will you share it with them? And by the way, what's stopping you from getting it done now? There you go, folks. As always, do good,